So this is my really good friend, Jason. I'm going to just turn it right over to you to introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about your background, a little bit about how much time you did, when you came home, and just whatever you want to share with us, as much or as little, we would love to hear it.
Okay, sounds good, Ro. Yeah, so my name is Jason O'Malley, as Ro was saying. I grew up in Warren, Ohio. Um, we grew up in the projects, low-income housing in Warren, Ohio. Single parent household. My mom's a great woman. She really held it down for us. During that time, I've always excelled in school. My mom made sure that I did. We had a lot of negative influences around where I grew up, but my mom kind of protected us from that. So I did really good in school and continued to excel throughout, playing sports coming up. And when I got into my teenage years, I went into the streets and started hustling, making money, smoking weed, using, and I found I had a knack for not only mathematics in school, but I had a knack for the mathematics out in the streets too, and I got real good at it. So I also got a little drinking habit to where I was getting in a lot of trouble, fighting a lot, and ended up quitting school altogether and just going all the way into the streets. But during that time, I still continued to have some periods where I tried to do good, going to Youngstown State when I was 19 years old and dropped out of that, and then going back again later on. But helping my mom get her GED when I was 15. So I was helping people and trying to battle back and get back in school, but inevitably the streets kept pulling me back. And I led to my first incarceration when I was 21. I did 5 years for 2 shooting cases, coming with the drug game and hustling. I started toting pistols and started shooting. And I did that, did my 5 years. But during that incarceration, I really tried to change my life. And I got back into college in Lake Erie Correctional up in Northeast Ohio. And I started excelling again academically. So I had 3.9 GPA inside, came home. I was doing really well when I came home. I started going to Youngstown State when I came home. I was at the top of my class for about 3 or 4 years. I was really doing well. I had a 3.9 GPA as well at Youngstown State, scholarships. I went to China with my university. Met 2 good professors there that are my mentors, and they've stayed in contact with me all throughout. And I made a decision to live in the neighborhood that I grew up in. I thought, you know what? I did my years. I had grown up. I was doing really well. And I thought, you know what? I'll never make those mistakes again. I'll never succumb to the lure of the streets or that fast money again. But I was mistaken in that, because I didn't know that after 3 or 4 years doing really well at Youngstown State and forgetting where I came from, that if I'm not careful, if I'm not really vigilant and about my P's and Q's, I could make those mistakes again. And I did. In 2009, I was arrested for transporting 3 kilos of cocaine and a pistol from California back to Ohio. And I got sentenced to 12 years in federal correctional institution in McKean, and I ended up doing 9.5 of that. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit of my journey at McKean, because although I didn't want to have to go back to prison to find my true passion and who I really am, it has been the best experience of my life. And it's kind of hard. People, they always see all this stuff on TV about prison, and there is that. There's a lot of negative things that go on in prison, but there's also a lot of positive things. There is an element, and there's a group of people, men and women, in different facilities that are in that fight. They're in that battle. They're in that struggle to conquer their demons and to really discover their full potential that they've always known they had, and others, teachers or spiritual leaders, knew they had too. We just had to know and find it for ourselves, and we had to work hard to bring it out. And so I met a group of great men, and even some staff members, some authority figures that really believed in us. And so, and Roa, you already know that's where I met your husband, Adam, and he's a great man and a great influence in my life, and I hope I've reciprocated that as well. And as amongst many others, and at McKean, we started. I've always been tutoring mathematics. Like I said, I helped my mom get her GED when I was 15, teaching people at the university, helping my twin sister, my brother, all my family. I've always, and in the projects, my friends, I always help people math. But I never knew that this is something that I'm supposed to be doing. Like, this is my passion, educating. And so I started tutoring again. That was when I went to education building. During that time, I met Arturo Cantu. He started tutoring, and started telling me about life coaching and some of the things that they were doing with Mrs. Susan Folk, who was an AW. So my thing was like this: I'll tutor and help the men, but I didn't really engage a lot with the staff, like getting it in just with the education staff, but not outside of that. So he's telling me about the AW, and so I'm like, all right, well, let me go check this. Let me check out what they're doing. So Adam, Arturo, amongst others, we get it in, and we start doing the coaching classes, life coaching. We start getting the training and becoming a certified life coach. And I started getting the tools and things outside of my spirituality, outside of praying the rosary and going to mass. I started getting some tools to help me bring to a higher level of awareness and intentionality, so that I could start to, when I see these things coming up in my life, I could hurry up and deal with them, so I don't let them grow and fester. And when I see influences come up, I can say no, thank you, and keep it stepping, keep it moving. So with these wonderful tools that life coaching afforded me and the men, we started to deal with the things that we had to deal with. We started to do the introspection we needed to, and to grow into our best selves. So our natural next thing was to start reaching others with the tools that we were blessed with. So that's what we did. We started building programs, facilitating programs to help men to get in a classroom with some men and give them the same things that we had been blessed with, tools to look into themselves, deal with those things, and to grow into their best selves. And so that's what we did. And like I said, we developed the life coaching program at McKean. And our hope is to now, as we're transitioning home, I've been home about 5 months, I'm here in Pittsburgh working with people from the DOJ, from probation, anyone who's involved with reentry, anyone who's not involved with reentry who might not even know they had an interest in it. Hey, look, come work with us. We're working on helping men and women transition home, giving them that leg up, that head start, if you will, to make that successful transition home. And so we're developing the program here in Pittsburgh, and we're going to take men and women as they come home and work with them to the next level. And also, I want to start my own personal academic coaching business, as well as spiritual coaching. And I've been, like I said before, I was blessed with Adam helping me become a certified personal trainer. And so I have that to my game as well. So the holistic approach to wellness and living your best self, I hope to be able to offer that as I come home and reach people out here like I did on the inside.
Oh my gosh, I have so much to respond to that. Okay, so first of all, you were talking about teaching on the inside, and before I even met you or communicated with you, I heard for years what a wonderful teacher you were and how great you were in front of the classroom and all of that stuff. So I have, as you were talking, I have so many visions of you really doing what you just said, opening that up and doing that, and oh my gosh, amazing. And then you're talking about the Mrs. Folk years. Those were like my favorite years to go to McKean because wow, what an amazing woman. And she influenced Adam's life. I know all of your lives in so many different ways. So I didn't even think to point her in this direction, but I might have to send her links to all of these videos because I would love for her to see, and I'm sure she knows, but what an amazing influence that she has has had on all of you guys and with it bringing coaching into that facility. So what advice do you have for people? I know you guys had that kind of as your avenue to keep you on the straight and narrow path versus choosing, because I know you said every single day you kind of have to make that choice to go left or to go right. So what about people that don't have the option of that program? How do you advise them to choose to go the right way instead of the other way, or stay maybe even stagnant in what they're doing currently?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. And let me highlight one thing too that I forgot to mention. With Mrs. Folk, it wouldn't have been possible without Dr. Ritter and Dr. Pat
Yeah.
Williams and the Institute for Life Coach Training, who gave us the curriculum, and we have a great relationship with them. If you don't have the program, so if you don't have the Mrs. Folks or the Dr. Ritter, there will be someone in the institution or even on the outside. There are advocates, so you have to look for those advocates. And even if the program's not there, there are people you can reach out to who are on a pro-growth, pro-social path that believe in you. No matter what you've done, they believe in you. They believe in your potential. They believe that you can reach that full potential. And so look for those people, look for those advocates, look for those allies, right? That's the first thing. The next thing is there's books. There's many wonderful books that you can start doing it yourself. You can start looking at yourself, taking care of the things you need to take care of yourself and giving yourself the tools. So do that as well. Do both. We have to, the onus is on us, ourselves, to man up or woman up, and take care of the business. We got to start taking care of our business. And we've neglected a lot of family. And I know, Ro, I have to give you props. You have really advocated and have been a strong voice for women that we have left. As far as men, I'm going to go with the men. And then when the women, they left their families as well. But I'm going to focus on the men. We've left our women, our wives, our children, and our other loved ones. So I appreciate your efforts to that end. But going back to your question, just make sure we take care of the business and start looking at ourselves, and then look for the others that are doing the same or have experienced the same, or maybe they've never experienced what we've experienced, but they are pro-growth, pro-social people that are about life transformations.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I kind of want to get a little bit into your transformation. I think I'm going to ask a lot of the same questions that I asked Arturo on the first video, just to see what similarities you have. Like I said in his video, and I'll repeat it here in case this is anybody's first video that they're watching. First of all, make sure you subscribe and give us a thumbs up. So Jason and I both know that you appreciate this, but it's kind of like that Tim Ferriss thing where he asked a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of celebrities the same questions, or actually think they were like life gurus. I don't know. I didn't read the book, but I should. But what you answer might resonate differently with what somebody else answers. So that's why we're doing the same questions, and, we can always go off on tangents and everything like that. But the next question, or before I ask the next question, is there anything else you want to say about life coaching or inside stuff, or any kind of advice as far as what we were just talking about?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but as I'm answering a question, I may go off and think of something, so I might just hurry up and shoot it in there, and then I'll come back. If that's cool with you.
No, that's fine. It's totally just a back and forth conversation, and anybody that is a returning subscriber knows that I like to go off on my own tangents, so they're used to this. It's no problem. So tell me, what was an unexpected obstacle that you encountered during your transition coming home?
There was a couple, but one that really stuck out to me that kind of threw me off was getting an apartment, trying to rent an apartment. We all know that, okay, you got the felonies and people are, going to be hesitant towards that, but I didn't know how bad it could be until I was getting an apartment, because the jobs here in Pittsburgh were really good. There's a lot of people that offer jobs to people who got felonies. When it came to getting an apartment, it was a little bit more difficult. I wasn't trying to go in the city. I was trying to get a little bit outside of the city, and just individuals were a little bit hesitant to rent you if you have the felonies. And I understand it's a legitimate business concern. They have a rental property. They want to find a good tenant, and they want to make sure that the tenant is going to pay the bills and not damage the property and all that. So this is a legitimate business concern, and I get that. I understand that. And I guess to a certain extent, it's going to be, the onus is going to be again on men and women transition home to get those rentals, have these property owners have a great experience with you, paying the bills and taking care of the business, because that'll speak volumes. When somebody else comes behind you, then they'll say, oh, I had a great experience with someone coming home, and I would love to rent you, because I know that when you're coming home, you're focused, you're motivated, and you just need a break sometimes. And so that's my hope, is that we start to give these landlords a great experience, and that way they can they'll feel more comfortable going forward. But and because some of the feedback I got was, well, you don't have enough rental experience lately to for me to feel comfortable. Well, this is kind of like catch-22, because yeah, I'm never going to get the rental experience if someone doesn't give me the shot. So just give me the shot and I'll show you. You know what I'm saying? So, I dealt with that. And then if your income isn't 2.5 times or 3 times over the rent, they gave you a little bit of hard time about that, because there was a little fear there involved of not being able to pay the rent. And they have experience, not even just from people transitioning home, but from others who may not have paid the bills, and they didn't have a high enough multiple over their rent to be able to pay it. So again, like I said, it's a legitimate business concern, but for individuals who go through that, be aware of it.
Yeah, and I would love to bring you back on and talk about kind of the logistics and how maybe you navigated it, because that's a question I get all the time, and I have no experience with that. And we were going to have a woman come on. Our schedules just kind of haven't coordinated enough to do it yet, but maybe the 3 of us can come back and you guys can give me your experiences to help other people, just kind of how you were able to circumvent that and get through it, because I know it's a huge problem. I literally just did a video, and you guys, I will post it up here somewhere when I publish this video, but Kim Kardashian actually came in and she offered to pay 5 years of rent for this man named Matthew Charles. He was one of the first people to get out on the First Step Act out in Tennessee, and he couldn't find housing. And so she came in and she was made aware of this case, and she said, I will pay, you find a place to live, I don't care where it is, I don't care how much it costs, and I'll pay upfront for 5 years. And even after that, even with Kim Kardashian involved, he still couldn't find a place. He still was having so much trouble being a felon, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I know that it was kind of a blessing as far as our cause, because it turned a celebrity with a name that big onto that issue, where she's fighting to not only help combat that and to educate people, but she's actually hiring felons, so she says, onto her staff to kind of set the example, because everybody does deserve a second chance. So it's such a huge problem. But congratulations that you were able to do it, that you are doing so well right now, and you were able to be the anomaly, because I know it's so hard. So if you had to do it all over again and you were being released today, what would you do differently?
I don't like to second guess myself too much, or like dwell on regrets too much, but I think I'll reframe that a little bit and say that if I were to coach myself, how would I coach myself to do things differently? Or maybe I'm thinking of the biggest thing is the culture shock, dealing with culture shock and coming home and see, when you are inside and you're living by these cultural mechanisms that you have to live a certain way, you have to behave a certain way, or there's repercussions. And this is the mechanisms that we have inside, that there's a higher level of respect in a lot of instances, right? When you come to a halfway house situation, I have these unrealistic expectations of others, that I'm expecting them to, since they're coming home and they're coming home from prisons just like I am, that the behavior's gonna be the same, and that the respect or the cultural cues and mechanisms are gonna be the same. But that's not the case. And so when you're in a halfway house, it's like everything goes out the door. Anything that you just went through in the prison, or any kind of rules you had or anything, they're all out the door now. And so I had these unrealistic expectations, and it allowed me to get a little bit more frustrated. So what I would have done is I'd have prepared myself a little bit more mentally for that transition. I would have said, hey, look, okay, this is how I've been living the last 9 or 10 years, but that may not be the case when I come home. And individuals who aren't living by those same rules and mechanisms, then they're not going to know that these are my expectations, so it's unfair to them. Like, these are my expectations because this is where I've been living, but now as I'm coming home, they don't have those same rules and mechanisms. So that I would have prepared myself mentally, knowing that now and seeing that now. That's what I would have prepared myself a little bit better, saying, hey, look, okay, whatever you've been doing the last 10 years, that's fine. But now it's different. You're going home to a free world, and it's different. So I would prepare myself a little bit better on that.
I love that. And that's something that I actually lecture on and coach about all the time because, and I don't know, maybe this is not the same, maybe it's a little different, but I have a lot of girls who are like, well, I want to lose the 30 pounds I gained while he was at trial, or I want to clean the house, or all of this stuff, but I'll wait until right before he comes home. And I always say, you're not going to undo 10 years worth of damage in a couple of months or even a couple of weeks. So do it all now. And so I think the advice that you just gave is incredible. And we could take that on the outside as well. I mean, you could take that in any area of life. It's just life coaching stuff. So let's say we're going back a little bit further. And this, you might have already answered this, but we could explore. What would you have done differently while still inside, knowing the challenges you were going to face now once you were released?
Yeah, part of that is, I think I answered the last one, but I think also going back to the home plan thing, I think I would have probably worked a little bit more on getting my home plan, getting my apartment beforehand and trying to have a home plan, because now knowing how, so if I could have it was difficult for me because I was coming to Pittsburgh, right? I was coming to Pittsburgh with no family because I wanted to help develop the life coaching program here with the like I said, the DOJ and some of the probation officials here, so we can get this thing off the ground. So I had to do it when I got to the halfway house. Whereas if you don't have to do that, if you have a home plan and you can submit it before you come home, that's what I would have done. I would have done that. I would have preferred to do that. Or if I could have had friends or family that were here to get me an apartment ahead of time, I would have done, had something done already in advance, so I didn't have to go through that when I came home. So I'd tell, like myself or individuals to do that. Get that home plan in. Have that done. If the probation can go out and check your home plan even before you get to the half house or come home, that's even better. And so I would have loved to have all that in place. And because there's delays every step of the way. That's one delay. There's another delay. And each time you delay, that's a little bit of a setback. So anything like that you can get done, like the home plan and the apartment, I would have done that.
Awesome. And commercial break, I'm sorry, guys, we were supposed to do computer, my webcam just went nuts. So you could see me sitting on the floor in front of my computer on my phone, and my legs were cramping. Excuse me, that's why I'm moving around. And now my allergies. Excuse me. Okay, so I love that. So where are you originally from?
I'm from Warren, right next to Youngstown, Ohio. It's about an hour and a half from here. So it's not too far. It's about an hour and a half, like I said. And so, come down and visit, and I can go visit them. But it definitely, for the department, it was a little challenge, though.
Yeah, so I was interviewing somebody yesterday, and he was saying one of the most difficult parts of his transition is not being able to make a lot of friends. And he was in for 20 years, and he went back to his mom's house. So it's not like he wasn't from around the area. But he said it was just really difficult because he kind of felt like he closed people off, and he kind of felt like he had this persona that was tough. So he almost intimidated people, even though he was the nicest guy and he didn't want to come across intimidating. It's just, he said, like, I guess it's this thing that I developed from being in there that I didn't even realize that I was doing. So are you having any issues, not being from the area, meeting new people and making new friends?
No, I might make too many friends. I don't know if that's possible, but no, I generally don't have that issue. Even because I guess I didn't develop that standoffishness inside. I engaged from the beginning. Like I said, I tutored in education, so I was engaging from the beginning, engaging with others from the beginning. And I say, like, you have to see one of me teach sometime, because it's different, right? So I kind of wrestle with them. I wrestle with their energies, the men, and we get it in. Like, I'm gonna challenge you. I'm not gonna let nothing go. Look, we're gonna take care of the business. And I'm gonna talk smack. You can talk smack to me, and whatever. We're gonna get it in with no cussing. I'm not gonna be cussing, but I mean, we're gonna get it in, right? And so I have to engage and be sociable and let you know. I have to emote that I care, that I love you, and I want you to do well. And so, because that's the only way my smack talking will work. Because if I smack talk and you don't know that I care, you might call me out a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But if I smack talk and I'm calling you out and challenging you, but you know it's because I want you to do your best, that higher level of engagement, I didn't develop that kind of like standoffishness that some people do when they just got these defense mechanisms they put up. So I had that issue here. Like I'm meeting everybody and developing great relationships. And like I said, I got to be choosy and picky with that as well because individuals, if they're not on the same type of time, and you brought this up before in one of our previous conversations, whether it's a relationship with a man and a woman or a relationship with friends, if you're not on the same type of time, if you're not on that trying to reach your best selves and high level and being intentional, aware, and all these things that we're doing, then I gotta let you go because that's what brought me down before. So I gotta be picky and choosy, but I don't have that issue of meeting people or building great relationships. No.
I love that response. But what advice would you have for people who maybe she's watching this, he comes home and he doesn't have such an engaging personality as you do, or maybe he did at one point and he lost that because he did so much time and maybe he has some sort of post-traumatic stress going on. How would you advise that woman to help advise him or to help him kind of come out of his shell and meet new people and make new friends, especially if he's coming home to someplace new like you did?
Okay. Yeah, I'll go from my experience, and I'll go from other things that I know. So I haven't experienced, but I know. Go back to Mrs. Folk, and this is a question you might want to ask her because she's worked with veterans who, I believe the veterans had PTSD, but they were working with dogs. And I know they were working with dogs, and I believe that they had PTSD. So, and this is something we need to investigate for us as well. There was a wonderful speaker, and I'm going to go around in a circle, but try and keep up a little bit. So there was a wonderful speaker who came into McKean, and he was a sheriff, and he was talking about how police have PTSD and the things they go through. And I, as well as others, pointed out that every engagement and interaction that he talked about that gave him PTSD, there was one of us on the other side that was involved in that too. And there was a lot of interactions and stuff that we went through that we didn't get involved with the police that gave us PTSD as well. So there's a lot of individuals, men and women, who have PTSD that are incarcerated or formerly incarcerated. We need to look into that. But so dealing with the dogs and the veterans with Mrs. Folk, that's a way that it has been known to be effective with dogs, with animals. And so partner with somebody that knows what they're doing on this, and get a dog or an animal that could help draw the humanness out of somebody again, right? So definitely look into that. And then from my experience of dealing with individuals who have that, who are harder to engage with on the inside, again, like I said, well, I didn't say this part, patience. Patience takes in educating. I'll go from my experience in education. So someone comes into the classroom and they have those walls up and they don't look. I don't want to be here. They're making me be here. I'm not trying to kick it or whatever. Okay, that's cool. I just want you to know I'm here for you, and when you're ready to engage, I'm ready. Right. So that kind of balance of letting them know that you're going to give them that space and you want to engage and you love. It's different for a man or woman, so I can't really speak to that. But some of these things can be used in that regard too. So letting them know that balance of, look, I love you, I care about you, and I want to engage with you, but I'll give you your space too, because that's important. That I will give you that space. Then, but like in education, I'll circle back and say, hey, look, okay, what's up? You ready? Because when I'm teaching, I'm educating, they'll get drawn in, and so I'm like, what's up? You ready? And so I guess the same would be for a relationship, saying, circling back every once in a while and trying to engaging when they're ready and go from there. It's a little bit more difficult because you say you're a man or woman and your significant other's been gone for so long and they come home. Hey, look, we got them home. Look, let's share this life together now, right? So, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to have that patience and be able to circle back and give that space. But I think it's needed. I think you got to give that space and let them come out when they're ready. And you might just have to be a little bit more patient just for a little bit longer and take your time. But my prayers for that's a real issue. So I'm going to be praying for that.
Thank you. And you know what? It's so funny because I know you told me you didn't get to watch Cantu's second and third installments of his interview. And then somebody else that I interviewed yesterday. It's amazing that you guys are all saying very, very, very similar things. So these are huge takeaways for everybody. And I just want to add to that one little thing that's helped me. He's coming home and he or she is having issues interacting and meeting people. A lot of people, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because I've never been inside, but most people inside feel very comfortable on the yard working out. They use that to feel healthy and to waste time, or waste time is the wrong word, but to get through the time. So for me, who's a very shy, introverted person, this experience has given me some anxiety. God forbid people ask me questions. Are you married or are you not, blah, blah, blah. But I go to group training facilities where they're all over the place nowadays. And it kind of helps you because you feel comfortable in that atmosphere because you've been doing it for all those years inside. But it's also a way to naturally interact with people in a place where you feel comfortable doing things that you feel comfortable doing. And then those relationships will form organically. And I think Adam's told me this, that there are a couple of, at least CrossFit is the gym that I go to. There are a couple of facilities that actually, nonprofit-wise, allow people who are returning home to go either very minimally charged or free of charge. So it's things that that's one thing that you could do with or for him or her that'll help them get through. At least something from my perspective.
I agree.
Awesome. Okay. So next question. What experience did you have inside that most benefited you while transitioning home?
I'll have to go with like the educating, teaching, facilitating, the life coaching, working with Adam and Arturo and the other men, Michael Talley, whom I hope y'all meet soon, and Jose Ceballo and others, many others that working with them, collaborating with them, facilitating and managing the energies of the men that were bringing through the classes, and so that's one side of it. That being able to manage many different energies. That's very helpful coming home. That was very helpful coming home, managing energies in the halfway house because there's a lot of different individuals and energies going on there. So that was very helpful to have that experience and to be able to transition smoothly or less rough, I'll say.
Yeah.
And the interactions with the staff, we were very intentional about building and creating relationships because that's a kind of like a taboo thing when you're in an institution. If you're talking to a staff member, oh, he's talking to the cops, you know what I'm saying? So we knew that there could be that perception, but we didn't care because what we were doing was promoting the program for the men anyways. So we knew we had to reach out to the staff. So developing those relationships with the authority figures has helped me coming home too, because now I don't have that angst or that kind of like standoffishness with authority figures or the staff, like where I'll engage with them. And so engaging with them at the halfway house and working with them to develop the programs has helped me tremendously, because if I hadn't had that experience on the inside, I wouldn't have done it on the outside. So doing it on the inside, building that rapport with the staff and developing the programs and the opportunities that I had at McKean helped me to make that smooth transition coming home, working with the authority figures, the staff, and develop the programs out here, which is essential. At the end of the day, the us versus them mentality that our system is built on, it doesn't work. It's not going to work. You're pitting two groups of individuals against each other, and they're always going to have this adversarial approach when they engage. And if you want to perpetuate the system, then keep that paradigm, keep that mentality, if you want the system to continue to go. But if you say that you are advocating for the reduction of recidivism or the transformation of lives or anything along that lines where you really want a system that works, then we have to undermine that us versus them mentality and that paradigm that says, that's my enemy. No, that's a human being full of potential. And I don't care if they chose to be an officer or if they chose to be in the streets. We're going to look for the best in these individuals, and we're going to try and engage with them. And so that's my hope going forward. But those are some of the things that's helped me tremendously as I came home.
That's amazing. And I want to talk to you in 1 second about if it is that us versus them mentality where our loved ones are, how to coach your loved one into making amicable relationships with these people. But before I get into that really quick,